savior complex or white knight syndrome. Yeah, white knight syndrome describes this need to save people by fixing their problems. If you have a savior complex, you might only feel good about yourself when helping someone else. Believe in helping others is your purpose. Does that sound like?
Sound like me.
So you only feel good about yourself when you're helping someone?
I don't know if I'm stroking my ego by doing it. It's like a calling. It's like something within. I need to help someone. And you can't just tell me about something and it's like, oh, all right, yeah, wish you the best. That's not good.
White people suffering from white savior complex, and yes, I'm gonna say suffering because it's almost as if it's an illness. They believe it's the responsibility to save and help people in underprivileged communities. Those communities are predominantly people of color. And these white people are doing it because they feel as if they are the savior. They are the ones that can help these poor little people of color because they just can't do it themselves. In most cases, it's the oppressive systems that limits these communities from being able to prosper and grow as a whole. Although the white savior complex can come with good intentions, it is still crucial and absolutely necessary to look at the deeper meaning behind why white people feel the need to save people of color. People's desire and need to do this actually shifts away from the real problems that these communities are being affected by. It literally puts marginalized groups on the back burner while putting the white people that help them in the front, which in turn mutes the voices of minority groups and their personal experiences.
I think white people think that other people want to be them. I think they think other people want to be white. They actually think that people are looking at them ordering Charlie Kirk's at Starbucks in a show of solidarity and thinking, God, I wish that was fucking me. They think people want to be like them. Bro, nobody wants to be like white people.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
In every lifetime, if I ever got reincarnated, I would choose to be black. This video is so funny because it is true. Like, white people think that they are the norm, the status quo, and that they are the blueprint for things, and everything outside of the scope of being white is not normal. I can speak boldly for the majority of black people on earth, and I will say 99.999% of black people. In every lifetime, if I ever got reincarnated, I would choose to be black. With everything that we experience in the world, with everything, all the history we have, all the racism, microaggressions, macroaggressions existing in this world, having to prove yourself, being better than everybody just to get an equal level playing field, I would always choose to be black. I couldn't imagine not having 20 cousins, having fake cousins, being communal, going to church, having growing up in my grandmother's house, having dinner at my grandma's house, having a drunk uncle that has hoop dreams at 50 who used to be a rapper. I couldn't imagine not having all the things that bring me together as a black person with other black people. Seasoned food, rhythm, music, clothes, swag, style, impact. I just could not imagine not being this person. So if you're watching this and you're white and you really think that you are the blueprint because the world has told you so, that's a lie, bro. It's a lie. I would never want to be white. Don't get me wrong. There are some people out there that have issues internally, self-hatred, and that's due to our history in this land and the world. But the majority of us would always choose to be melanated in the next lifetime. Have a wonderful day.
And the reason being because I have children in Uganda that I take care of. They eat because of me. I'm building homes in Uganda.
So what I'm thinking about right now is kind of funny because I just saw this video of this other creator, and of course it was a black conservative talking about how, you know, Democrats or liberals will always comment, be like, they'll never accept you. The Republicans, they'll never like you. They'll never accept you. And it's just like, that right there is the white savior complex. Like, that shit's racist as fuck. Like, this is how they hide their racism. They hide it in a way or disguise it in a way to say that you can't make up your own mind. I'm going to do it for you and save you from the bad decisions that you make. So you're basically telling me I'm not smart enough to think on my own. You're telling me that I'm not intelligent enough to think outside of what you tell me. That's what you're telling me in this white savior complex. Because that's all Democrats love to tell black liberals, black conservatives, black MAGA. You know, they just love to tell us, you'll never be accepted. You'll never be one of them. I don't need you to save me. I've seen both sides. I just don't agree with the Democrats because y'all have opened Pandora's box and y'all allow anything and everything to happen. Like, y'all want boys to be in girls' spaces so bad. So bad. Y'all are willing to sacrifice anything and everything that you believe in just to allow that to happen. That's not me, dog. But if you believe in that, take your ass to the Democratic Party, because that's what they do. But the white savior complex, they have to tell you that you're not going to be accepted because you don't look like them. Well, guess what? The representation in the Democratic Party of people who look like me don't do shit for me. Why the fuck would I vote for y'all? Like, make it make sense. Oh my gosh. Like, this is why I say the white savior complex is like just inherently racist. This is a covert strategic move designed to tell black people you can't think. If you really like put your two brain cells together, they tell you you can't think outside the Democratic Party. They tell you you can't think on your own and make your own decisions. Imagine that in 2025, they said the party switched, but all the racists are still Democrats to this day. LBJ was a Democrat when he died. Robert Hurd was a Democrat when he died. Joe Biden was still a Democrat. What are you talking about? The party switched. I'm just blown away how a group of people can tell another minority group that you won't be accepted, that you won't be liked by other people that they don't even know. They're just assuming, they're projecting that fear on you, so you side with them, the Democrats. And that's why I say the white savior complex, it's just racist altogether. Yeah, they don't need to save black people. They have this generational curse, in my opinion, passed down to them to say, tell black people that they can't think on their own and they need to be Democrats for as long as possible. Politically, anyway, you know. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. But the white savior complex, I feel like that shit need to be studied. Like, that shit need to be analyzed. Like, what the fuck? Like, these white people think they need to just save everybody and everything. Like, look how many protests they've had. They just trying to save everybody, not even saving themselves.
Hi, my name's Emily. I'm a Presbyterian pastor. I have a wife. I live in Kansas, and tomorrow I'm preaching a sermon about how when I was in college, I had a serious white savior complex. I'm telling this story. It's so embarrassing, but it's important to tell, about my friend, one of my best friends, Chuck, and how I learned about his situation, his poverty, and instead of listening to him or asking him what he needed, I tried to fix it. And then I did a really bad job trying to fix it, and I was really proud of myself because I didn't bother to ask if it was actually helpful. And the opposite of participating in a white savior complex is participating in solidarity, and perhaps mutual aid. And if the question we ask when we are white saviors is, how do I fix you? The question we ask when we are good Christians is, how can I walk alongside of you? And that's what I'm thinking about today as I prepare for tomorrow's sermon. So I hope you can ask that question this weekend. How can I walk alongside those who are in positions of vulnerability? Happy Saturday.
Let's talk about the white savior complex. Okay. The white savior complex is when white people believe that they are saving non-white people, often in developing countries, through self-serving actions that deny the agency of the people that they are helping. It is the understanding of more than a few people that Peace Corps promotes this ideology, or it is a continuation of colonization. Quite frankly, I struggled with this a little bit myself which is why I took a couple years to kind of think over my decision to apply for Peace Corps. I said in an earlier video that I heard about it when I was 15 and it made me really excited, but after college I took a couple left turns and I took some time to actually think it over. And it's really important when you do work in a developing country to understand your place there and to understand why you are there, what you are doing, what you are bringing to the table, and most importantly, that the people there want you to be there. They want whatever education or expertise or experience you bring to the table. I mulled this over through my application process, and even the first couple weeks in training, I was still a bit nervous about it because I didn't want to contribute to these neocolonial practices. But through training, I realized that Peace Corps is not, or tries not to, tries to avoid harmful practices on the part of the American volunteers. Some key aspects of the white savior complex are the assumption of superiority. Peace Corps mitigates this by heavily concentrating on working with the community that you're in. Every Peace Corps volunteer has a counterpart, a Malagasy person that they work directly with. It's also important that we go through the training the first 3 months here. We learn about the culture that we're in, we learn the language, if there's a new language to learn here. We learn how to do the best work in our specific sector. For example, I'm a teacher, so we had education classes. We learned a lot of different ways of teaching. We talked about the limited resources we might have. We talked about creative solutions to problems that we might never have seen before. The white savior complex is also known to be patronizing and or performative. In regard to patronizing, we don't even come up with any projects until we get to site, and we're not supposed to start any projects until 3 months in. That's time to get to know our neighbors, get to know our community, get to know their needs, what they want to be done, and what we can do to help them get stuff done. Now, performative. I feel like I toe this line a little bit, making TikToks about my Peace Corps service. Sometimes I feel uncomfy about it. But my purpose in making TikToks was initially to help people like me who are applying for or thinking about Peace Corps to get more information about it, to see what your life might look like here. Because when I was applying, there wasn't a lot of information on TikTok about Peace Corps Madagascar specifically. So here I am, just talking about stuff. A couple other aspects of the white savior complex are the denial of agency and a harmful impact. Again, Peace Corps volunteers work with the community. They don't just come in and say, this is what we're gonna do because I know this and you need this. That doesn't happen in Peace Corps, or it shouldn't. If Peace Corps volunteers are doing that, they're not doing their job correctly. Peace Corps also tries to have a sustainable approach. So instead of building things, there's a lot of trainings that we try to implement and education that we want to pass along. Because you teach a man to fish, he'll fish for his whole life, or whatever they say about that. Now, why do some countries need Peace Corps volunteers or ask for Peace Corps volunteers? Why can't they just do the work themselves? Why do they need these white people or Americans to come in? Not all Peace Corps volunteers are white. Let's get that straight. Peace Corps volunteers are qualified individuals in a certain field or have experience doing certain things. So they combine their education with the ways that the community that they're working in does things to come up with sustainable solutions to problems. For example, the agriculture sector here in Madagascar works in food insecurity. There's not enough food in some places. Peace Corps volunteers come in and say, this is more efficient, let's try this. Or what if we did it here instead? And the community says, well, we want it to be like this, and figure out a solution. In certain places in the world, there is simply a lack of education on how to do things the most efficient way. That's not to say the way that things are done is bad or wrong. A lot of times it's the way things have been done for hundreds of years, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, the most important thing, in my opinion, is that we are not here if we are not asked to be here. In this specific town, in this specific sector. I would not be at my site if they did not ask for an English teacher from America to be here to teach English. English is a colonizer's language. I understand that, and I struggled with that too when I first got here. Why do I have to teach English? Why can't we focus on Malagasy? That's their local language. Why are we telling them that their language is wrong and they should use something else? That's not what we're saying. We live in a world where the English language is very valuable worldwide. To get a job, if people want to leave the country, it's very important to know English. People want to work in tourism in Madagascar, which has some money in that field. It's important to know English. So I think about this a lot, and I try to be very conscious of my place here and the impact that I'm having on the people around me. But in my opinion, the Peace Corps is not an organization that promotes the white savior complex or neocolonialism. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to have a conversation about it. But after being a Peace Corps volunteer for a year and a half, I feel pretty good about being here and the work that we're doing here.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I'm a shrink by trade, small business owner by hustle. I live in New York City. Today I want to talk about something that just happened to me. And I guess I'll title this, Sometimes You Just Need a White Savior. And I'll be that sometimes, no problem. I live in a white neighborhood, surprise, surprise. And my morning exercise routine on the Wednesday mornings, I go to a class with largely and predominantly white women. And today we had a guest, a young black guy. He seemed very overwhelmed. He was sitting in the corner. Everyone was trying to get him out. And like, you know, when, you know, white women see someone in distress, and especially if it's a person of color, that seemed a little underprivileged in relation to us, like we activate. You know, we've got to be the good white, and like we're helpers by nature, white women. We just want to help, we just want to help, we just want to help. And that's a way of taming our own helplessness. So I walked into the scene of the crime. I saw everything happening, and I could just tell the kid was getting a little overwhelmed. And it was just a very cringy situation with a bunch of women in their Arlo exercise pants and their Lululemons. Just like pulling out their phone and trying to give this guy directions back to where he needed to be. He was in a group home on the other side of town. He got lost. Anyway, I saw him getting overwhelmed, and I was like, oh shit, if this kid like doesn't get up and do something, you know what we end up doing. If all else fails, we could call the police, because that white women savior complex can easily turn into like a Karen situation if we get scared, God forbid. So, you know, I was like, okay. I told everyone to go into the classroom, and then, you know, I sat with him, and when all else fails, just throw money at the problem, which I have the luxury of doing. So I got an Uber, and I said, you're in luck, buddy. I got a Tesla sitting out right outside for you. Give me a water, relax, enjoy the ride back, and happy Christmas. You should have seen it. It was a lot of flailing around and taking the phone and just trying to show him how to get home from the app. I was like, ay vey. Let this white savior be the one to help this young man get back home. And that's it. Just another day. Take it easy.
A form of performative activism is white people traveling to Africa to take the role of the white savior. It is very common for white people to visit African countries as volunteers to help African children. At first glance, this is a kind gesture, but the problem is that white people who travel to African countries to volunteer usually arrive with a lack of training, but believing everything will turn out fine because they are white, and also bring the belief that Africa is a poor continent because of the fault of African people, not because of colonization committed by European countries. Typically, there is
is no real intention to undo the damages of colonization. It's a feel-good trip for white people. On top of that, white people will never question their attitudes to racism. He can't possibly be racist, he volunteered in Africa, or she can't possibly be racist, she sponsors an African orphan. A lot of white volunteers are coming to Africa with racist views and no historical knowledge of the country they'll be working in. They already believe that Africa is this poor continent that needs whiteness to save them. There are so many ways to support poor African children without white people making themselves the protagonist. If you want to know more, No White Saviors is an advocacy campaign that helps non-Africans understand how to help African people without the need to feel like a hero. This is such a common practice that the UK has its own charity and program, Comic Relief. The charity was created to respond to the famine crisis in Ethiopia in 1983 to 1985. However, they send white British celebrities to take pictures and videos of themselves volunteering in Africa. White people love this image of the white hero or heroine saving black and brown people. There's a whole genre of white savior films. It allows white people to have this fantasy that their whiteness is helping people around the world. Comic Relief knows that white people are their target audience, so it would not be as entertaining for white people to watch black people help each other out.
What's up, y'all? I'm back and I did my research so you don't have to. Picture here is Virginia native Renee Bach. Renee claims to be on a mission from God to save the children in Africa, but ultimately she ended up unaliving over 105 children. And if you're wondering, no, she didn't serve any jail time for this. She actually moved back to Bedford County, Virginia. Let's go ahead and get into this timeline of events. So as I hinted earlier, Renee comes from a Christian background. In 2007, Renee worked as a missionary at an orphanage in Africa. She was there for a total of 9 months. At the age of 19, she returned back home, and she decided that she wanted to start her own charity in Jinja, and she was able to do so. In her case, she was lucky enough to receive funds that were raised through her church circles back in Virginia. With the money raised, she rented a large house in one of the poorest districts in Jinja. From 2010 to 2015, Renee ran an organization called Serving His Children. And at this nutrition unit, she took in 940 malnourished children. She frequently blogged about her stories, painting herself to be a hero, but ultimately, she suffered from a white savior complex. As you can see, Renee was medically treating these children and providing all the care that she could. But Renee wasn't a doctor. She had no medical training at all. She was just a homeschooled 20-year-old with a white savior complex. So severe that she went to go play doctor and knowingly put each child she came across life at risk. The community of Jinja, Uganda referred to her as the white doctor. And for a very long time, she kept up with that act. But the act stopped when it came to diagnosing patients. Remember, Renee had no medical training, so she relied on God, gut feelings, and the Bible. One woman brought her 3-year-old son to Renee due to his severe malnourishment. 3 days later, her son was unalive. Renee provided no explanation, gave her $13.50 and her son's body to take home. And that's just one story of 105. She was sued by the Ugandan civil court, settled, and now lives comfortably back in Bedford County, Virginia. And when I say comfortably, I mean comfortably. Back in 2020, she got engaged. She left this community of Uganda to suffer. She experimented with their children knowingly, came back to the United States, went to Virginia, took no accountability for her actions, and now there's even a documentary being released on September 29th that Renee is starring in, defending her actions and chastising the people who feels that she did any wrong.
Okay, I'm going to try to explain this as clearly as I can because some of you are really just not getting it. The term white savior, okay, is not a term that is describing a hero who is white. Okay, savior is a misnomer. Okay, he's not an actual savior. He's not a hero. That is not what the term means. The term white savior or white savior complex is a negative term. It describes a villain, a bad person. So when I say that this is a white savior story about a white savior complex, it is describing Paul as the villain, not the hero, because that term does not refer to heroes. The term white savior references people who are either white or Western or in positions of power coming in to indigenous populations, POC populations, downtrodden populations, and quote, saving them and quote, helping them while actually exploiting them, taking advantage of them, and grabbing power for themselves. That is what that term means. In the book, that is what Paul does. He takes advantage of their belief that he is the Messiah and in turn becomes 10 times worse than what he was originally fighting. That is what a white savior does. That is what a white savior complex is. White savior does not mean hero. It is not a good thing. Being a white savior describes the villain, not the hero. So you need to stop fixating on the actual word savior because this is a full term. This is not a term that is describing the race of the hero. White savior is the term. It is one, think of it as one word. It's also not a take. This is a term that is used often when people are doing studies in history, colonialism, etc. Like the whole of Dune is a critique on imperialism and colonialism and like how people take advantage of indigenous populations and their natural resources. That is what the critique is. That is what a white savior complex is. So I don't know how else to describe this to you guys, but you're really fixating on the term savior, which is incorrect because this is not two words. It's like one term.
So let's talk about the white savior syndrome, and I think it's worth paying attention to. It's when white people feel like it's their job or responsibility to save others, especially people of color or marginalized community. On the surface, it looks like good intentions, but problem starts when helping turns into control. A lot of times, people step into situations they don't fully understand, speak over people they claim to support, and assume they know what's best. Instead of listening, they lead. Instead of amplifying voices, they replace them. And there is also a performative side of this, especially on social media. Helping becomes content. Struggles become stories told from someone else's perspectives, which is the helper at the center. At that point, it's less about change and more about validation. Real support doesn't look like saving people. It looks like listening, learning, and knowing when to step back. It means respecting the people and showing that you're capable of speaking, show that they are capable of speaking for themselves and leading their own movements without you being at the center of it. No one needs a savior. What people need is someone who respects and shows equity and space to tell their own spaces. We should learn to I feel like these white people that act in such a way, I'm not talking about all white people, so I have to say that, and it's not right because you all see a lot of them like posting content in Africa or somewhere, and it's crazy because there was this woman, and it's not just him, a lot of people get into scandals about experimenting on kids and doing certain things that are not good. And obviously these people try to go into such countries because they know it will be hard. If something goes wrong, it will be hard to be held accountable because they're too far, and in order for a victim to reach them, it's a lot of process though, so they end up not reporting it, and it's insane. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Hope you don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. So yeah.